Hello everyone, welcome to Lukman IS. Today we are going to have the Hindu analysis of 4th June 2021. Let us see which are the important articles from today's The Hindu newspaper. Yes, these are the important articles for mains purpose and for prelims purpose. Let us take overview of all these articles first. Speed over optics. On page number 6, this particular editorial, this article, it is having the context about the changes that central government has done in the national vaccination policy in last month and how it has resulted into less vaccination. There is a disruption of supply of vaccines and the global supply of vaccine has also been disrupted, and the government is continuously trying to import these vaccines. All these issues are covered here, as at the same time the writer is or the article is providing some way forward regarding this issue. So, GS2 paper, governance and COVID-19 aspects. Then norms of employing retired officials defined. So, Central Vigilance Commission here, it has defined the new norms for employing the retired IAS officers or central government officers. So, especially it is talking about the clearance, vigilance clearance that is sought by Vigilance Commission as well as from the employer from last employer of that IS officers. Okay, we will look into this aspect from GS2 paper polity part. Then Niti Aayog 2020 SDG index, Sustainable Development Goals Index. This is released now and we have to understand what is this index, along with that the rankings and the significance of this index. So, this is important for prelims, polity part, governance part, also for mains examination the facts are important. Then Ankiya Bhavana. So, yes, this is important from art and culture perspective. This is the theatre form of Assam developed by Shankar Deva during 15th and 16th century, we can say. So, we have to understand from art and culture perspective, we will take input here. Then strong policies on black carbon can sharply cut glacier melt, World Bank study. So, one of the report by World Bank has been released recently and it has worked upon the research regarding the impact of this black carbon on glacier melt in Himalaya, Hindu Kush and these mountain ranges. Okay, so we are going to understand and take input from environment perspective, GS3 paper, mains examination as well as for prelims examination. What is this black carbon, its global warming potential, its sources, emission sources, right? And lastly, some daily practice prelims MCQ that we are solving on today's current affairs. Yes, speed over optics. The context of the article here, it is talking about the impact of liberalized vaccination policy that was adopted last month by the central government. What is this liberalized vaccination policy? Last month central government announced that 50% of the vaccines will be brought by central government from the domestic manufacturers and 50% can be bought by states and private hospitals, and there is some kind of differential pricing was adopted wherein this 50% the manufacturers were allowed to decide the price of vaccine to be sold to the states and private hospital at their will, right. So, this differential pricing was adopted. Along with that, the younger age group, vaccination to younger age group of, we can say, up to, or we can say those above 18 to 44 years, this was also opened, and the central government, this is to be vaccinated by the states and private hospitals, while the central government will continue to vaccinate those who are 45 and above at free of cost. Several state governments also declared that they will provide vaccine at free of cost to this age group. also, including Maharashtra government, Delhi government, but we are facing some issues with this liberalized vaccination policy adopted last month. What are these issues? Let us try to understand. First thing, that despite of opening of vaccination to younger group or larger group of population, there is dip in vaccination. Some facts important, you can mention here that around 6 crore people or 6 crore were vaccinated in May as against around 7.7 crore in April. Now, despite of such opening of age group, or we can say larger portion of population eligible for vaccination now, there is a dip in vaccination, and this is the, we can say, effect of, or major reason behind this is that there is lack of supply, both domestic as well as international supply of these vaccines, right, and because of that there is low vaccination. At present we can understand that 22 crore people have been vaccinated in total in the country. At present 22 crore people have been vaccinated. Okay, some update, try to update the facts from time to time, as you are going to write this in your mains examination. Up till that time, maybe significant portion of the population will be vaccinated. Okay, so your mains examination may be around December, January 2021, December 2021, or even it may shift to next year also in January 2022. So at that time significant population will be vaccinated. So have follow up. You can have separate book for all this COVID-19 vaccine related or every development related to COVID-19. Surely many of you will be having such notes separate for our examination, right? So yes, these some important facts that we are having as a support to these arguments. Along with that, such in terms of issue, there is some kind of inequality within states and among states. There is inequality of vaccination within state also as well as among the state. Within state we can say especially related to urban and rural areas, and when we are talking about among states, some of the progressive states like western and southern states, they are able to vaccinate its population at faster rate because of two aspects. One, resources available to buy these vaccines. Second aspect, that vaccination centers and the health infrastructure is available at grassroots level. This is also very important aspect for vaccination. And some states, eastern states, they are lagging in this race here. So such kind of inequality is present in the vaccination. Another issue here we can see that the domestic manufacturers, so their capacity is very slowly increasing, we can say production capacity. So this needs to be ramped up. This is also major issue, we can say obstacle in supply of these vaccines. And import of vaccines, the problems in import of vaccines, right. So yes, the import of vaccines, central government along with state governments, they are continuously pitching in the global market for buying these vaccines, but at present there is crunch of supply of these vaccines, though the Sputnik V supply is now augmented at larger scale, and yes, government is in talks with the US government also. So they are also cooperating. In future we may expect the import of these vaccines at present, but there is problem. Along with that, there is some kind of commitment towards COVAX facility, and this COVAX facility was largely dependent on India, because India is pharmacy of the world, we can say largest vaccine producer in the world. So looking at that fact, the COVAX facility, especially for providing these vaccines at cheaper rate, especially to the poorer countries in Africa and some of the Asian countries. So India is not providing these vaccines in last one month, as government has stopped the export of these vaccines. Okay, so these are the issues at present. We have to also understand that after looking at these issues, many such state governments, chief ministers and Supreme Court also is of the view that there should be central government buying the vaccines, buying all vaccines, not only from domestic market but from international market also, and distribute it among states on equitable basis, right. So this is the issue. At present, state governments are also finding it very difficult to buy these vaccines. These companies, especially those companies located in Western countries, they are making it at very high cost, and the state governments are saying that if central government buys this vaccine, they will provide some kind of discount or at low cost. So it is a logical argument both by state governments as well as Supreme Court that vaccination, there should be some kind of uniformity in buying these vaccines, and central government is well placed to buy these vaccines from international market, right. International supply disrupted, yes, surely, especially when we are talking about the IPR issues, right, intellectual property rights issues. Yes, India along with other countries like South Africa has sought the waiver or patent waiver, we can say, to the TRIPS agreement of WTO, and yes, the process is continuously going on. It will surely take time. Unless and until such waiver is let's say not given, there will be issue in manufacturing of these vaccines. And we have earlier discussed about all in detail this IPR issues, what is compulsory licensing, what is voluntary licensing, all these issues, and yes, which one is good for India. Yes, we have already discussed, but international supply disrupted mainly because of this IPR issues. Then way forward, yes, what we have to understand as a way forward here, that first of all there should be uniformity in vaccination policy, that is, just now we talked about central government should buy the vaccine and distribute among the states on equitable basis. Second thing is that there should be some kind of flexibility to states to vaccinate its population, and center should monitor the process. Okay, so in implementation, vaccination is the domain of state governments, we can say. Only buying and supplying these vaccines should be a domain of central government, and this monitoring process and some inputs can be given by the central government to states, but there should be some flexibility to the states for vaccination process. And third thing, we can say that ramping up domestic manufacturing, especially of Covaxin. Okay, Covaxin. Now we know that ICMR is willing to share its technological know-how with some of the PSUs, and now the central government PSUs are going to manufacture this Covaxin. This is good news, and this should be, we can say, expedited. This process should be expedited further. So this is how we have to understand central government should play a proactive role in vaccination process rather than leaving states on their own. This is the we can say baseline regarding all these issues we are discussing here. Fine. So as a follow-up to COVID-19 vaccination, we can take input here. Next, norms for employing retired officials defined. Yes. So Central Vigilance Commission has laid down a defined procedure to be followed by the government organizations for getting vigilance clearance before employing a retired official on contractual or consultancy basis. Okay, so what happened earlier, such kind of clearance was not sought, and some tainted officers, the officers against whom some kind of corruption charges or other criminal charges, those charges are there, and when they are retiring, if they are, let's say, getting a contractual employment by the government again, then it affects the integrity, or we can say overall nature of vigilance, or we can say that it can result into further corruption, right. So for reducing this, the vigilance clearance is sought now by Central Vigilance Commission. A clear defined procedure is put forward. For example, according to the procedure, before offering employment to retired All India Services and Group A officers of central government or their equivalent in other organizations owned by central government, vigilance clearance from employer organization from which the officer has retired should be obtained. Okay, so we can say last employer, and then simultaneously communication seeking clearance should be also sent to CVC. Okay, such kind of vigilance clearance is to be sought by the government organizations. Then if there is no response within 21 days, vigilance clearance should be deemed to have been given. Later, if employee is found involved in any vigilance related matter or not cleared from the vigilance point of view, then the erstwhile employer organization would be held responsible for all consequential actions. So such strong measures have been taken in these new regulations put forward by CVC. It directed all government organizations to formulate rules to ensure cooling off period is to be observed. What is cooling off period? Yes, those who are having public administration optional, they must be learning about this. Generally what happens is the civil servants who are retiring from the government service, they also take up the private service also, right, in private sector. Now if suppose the government wants to bring back them on a contractual basis, then there is need of some kind of cooling off period from that private service that the retired officer was doing, right. Otherwise there is chances of conflict of interest. Chances of conflict of interest, right. So this conflict of interest, in general we can define it as the conflict between the private interest and public interest of that person, right. So this conflict of interest may happen when the person was earlier working in the private institute or in a private sector and then enters into government sector, right. So for that purpose, a cooling off period, say 6 months or 1 year, should be observed by the central government. This is the new guideline by the CVC. Fine. So you can mention all these recommendations. Those who are having public administration optional, it is important for them. At the same time, it can be used in ethics paper also, ethics in governance, ethics in public administration. We are looking at that point also how to reduce this conflict of interest, how to reduce the corruption. One of the major important topic in the syllabus ethics paper, corruption, issues of corruption, issues related to corruption, right. So try to take input as a way forward, or the presently this vigilance commission is doing for reducing the corruption in the government. Then prelims related development, significant progress in SDGs on clean energy, health, Niti Aayog. Now Niti Aayog has come up with this SDG index, Sustainable Development Index, in 2018. First it was released in 2018, and this is the third such release, and we have to understand some ranking, the significance, intention, why this SDGs index was bought by the Niti Aayog. We have to also understand some factual information, that which are the indicators, how many indicators are there. Yes, but about this 2020 index, some highlights. Yes, India saw significant improvement in which indicators? Yes, related to clean energy, urban development and health in 2020. However, there was a major decline in areas of industry, innovation and infrastructure, as well as decent work and economic growth. So in economic sector we are seeing some kind of decline in these indicators. Now Kerala retained its position at top with the ranking of or composite score of 75, followed by Tamil Nadu and Himachal Pradesh, both scoring 74. See, there is some kind of doubt regarding this 72 score here for the second ranking. It is in some newspaper it is given 74, in some newspaper it is given 72. Yes, in coming lecture we will clear this doubt also, right. So while Bihar is last in the list, then second last Jharkhand and Assam, we can say the worst performing states. All states showed some improvement from last year's scores. Along with that, Niti Aayog launched this index in 2018 to monitor countries' progress on sustainable development goals. So yes, we have to understand at present the range of all these states and union territories 52 to 79. Now let us understand some basics about this index. Yes, SDG index by Niti Aayog in collaboration with United Nations in India. Okay, in collaboration with United Nations. Now the states and UTs ranked on the basis of performance in 115 indicators related to 16 SDGs, related to 16 SDGs. You have to remember about the SDGs also. About SDGs, yes. So sustainable development goals, there are total 17 goals, and under these 17 goals 169 clearly mentioned targets are there within these 17 goals. Actually 17th goal is related to international cooperation in achieving these SDGs. So that's why regarding states and union territories we are not talking about the international cooperation. That's why remaining 16 SDGs, they are concerned here regarding this Niti Aayog's index. Along with that, they are to be achieved by 2030, 15 years time period for their implementation from 2015 to 2030. Earlier there were Millennium Development Goals. Okay, they replaced MDGs. Earlier there were Millennium Development Goals. There were 13 such Millennium Development Goals. Exactly I am not remembering, but yes, Millennium Development Goals, they are now replaced with Sustainable Development Goals. They are spanning in 3 areas: social, economic and environmental. Social, economic and environmental well-being of all. Okay, so this is how we have to understand sustainable development goals are in these 3 areas. Fine. So this is about SDGs. Now United Nations along with other such international organizations, civil society organizations, through consultative process, these 17 SDGs were decided and continuously now being monitored by United Nations, its implementation. Fine. Now coming back to this index, SDG index of Niti Aayog, here we have to understand that the score is 0 to 100. 0 to 100. That means when the state or UT receives this 100 score, then that means this target is achieved. This target is achieved. This is how we have to remember. Now the states are also categorized into 4 categories on the basis of this score. Okay, so yes, first aspirants from 0 to 49, the score. Second, performer 50 to 64. You need to remember this, it can be asked in prelims examination also. Yes, aspirants, performer, front runners from 65 to 99, and then fourth, achiever 100. Okay, so this is the categorization. At present all states are between these two, performer and front runners. At present all states and union territories are between these performers and front runners. There is no state or union territory in aspirant category or achiever. No state and union territory in aspirant and achiever category. This is a good progress in last 3 years that we are observed, right? So this is how it is being calculated on the basis of 115 indicators spanning in 3 areas: social, economic, environment. Fine. Yes, so this is the basic information. Now when we are talking about the significance of this SDGs, yes, first thing, monitoring the progress in achieving sustainable development goals and its targets. Second thing, it creates some kind of competition among the states, to achieve and progress in these SDGs. At the same time, in future, any kind of, let's say, grants are to be given to the states on the basis of performance. The performance evaluation can be done on the basis of SDGs by the central government, and some grants can be provided to the states, right? So a kind of, let's say, avenue is created to the states, a competition is created among the states, and on that basis the states are being evaluated on the progress of achieving these SDGs. This is the significance, and we have to understand that unless and until there is a competition, healthy competition is created among the individuals, here among the states, the progress is not happening. Okay, so this is good thing, a kind of competition that is created. Fine, this is the significance we can talk about this SDGs here. Okay, now this in this year's SDGs, one change is done by Niti Aayog. Niti Aayog has omitted key economic indicators used to measure inequality in income and expenditure. Last year and given greater weightage to social indicators instead. So last year the inequality of income and expenditure, that indicator, this is omitted this year, and the greater weightage is instead given to social indicators instead. So in this particular chart we can see the goal, or we can say indicator, goal wise top states, right. So sustainable development goals are mentioned on the left side, and the top states in achieving or progress in that particular sustainable development goals, like no poverty, zero hunger, well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean water, right. So some kind of, let's say, information can be taken from this chart also for your mains examination or your essay paper also, right. Yes. Now next, Ankiya Bhavna. Now this particular theatre form from Assam, right. So Ankiya Bhavna, thriving in Assam for 5 centuries, now it's been 500 years, is known as precursor to Satriya. Satriya is a classical dance form of Assam, from Assam. Okay, precursor to Satriya, Assam's classical dance tradition, was created by Srimant Shankar Deva, the Renaissance man of Assam. Okay, so also part of Bhakti movement. We'll talk about Shankar Deva separately here, but about this Ankiya Bhavna's uniqueness lies in inherent synthesis of classical and folk theatre traditions. At the same time, there is confluence of dance, drama, music, literature, religion and art of mass making. The uniqueness of theatre form, you need to remember, there can be question in mains examination also regarding specifically 5 marks or 10 marks. Ankiya Bhavna is important. Unlike other theatre forms where Sutradhar, that is narrator anchor, appears intermittently to anchor proceedings, here he is anchor, director, narrator, singer, dancer, actor and remains on the stage throughout the play, we can say, right. So this is the difference with other theatre forms, the confluence of classical and folk theatre, confluence of dance, drama, music, literature, mass making, right. So this is Ankiya Bhavna from Assam. Now about Shankar Deva. He was born in 1449, a saint, social reformer, scholar, poet, playwright, promoter of Vaishnavism in Assam, right. Shankar Deva created 3 unique art traditions. This is very, very important information for prelims examination. Bor Geet, which is related to music, Ankiya Bhavna related to theatre, and Satriya dance form, classical dance form. Besides Brajavali literary language, that was confluence of Hindi, Maithili, Bhojpuri, Assamese and Sanskrit. Okay, Brajavali language. So you need to remember the contribution of Shankar Deva in art and culture, right. So this is important. Shankar Deva scripted 6 plays, all of them revolving around stories of Krishna and Rama, from Bhagavad Purana, then Mahabharata, Ramayana, right. So this is the contribution. What we are expecting here, the question for mains examination, nowadays we are seeing the questions are more being asked in the art and culture section. This year we have seen the increased weightage in GS1 paper for art and culture section. Up till now there is no specific question when we are talking about the state wise art and culture, the question based on states, that is give an account of art and architecture and culture of any particular state. So yes, you prepare such kind of notes. Let me tell you some important states like Kerala, first one Kerala, second Tamil Nadu, third one Assam, fourth Rajasthan, Karnataka, then Manipur, and 10th one you can say Madhya Pradesh. These are important states. At least prepare these 10 states. You can prepare northeast together. Assam and Manipur very important in terms of contribution towards art and architecture. When we talk about art and culture, it includes different forms of art and architecture. It includes, we can say, sculpture, temple architecture, then we can say different types of art forms like puppetry is there, then there are sculpture, or we can say first of all caves, then there is paintings, types of paintings is also there, puppetry is there, right. Then we can also add here as a part of culture, then we have literature, then we have dance forms, then we have festivals, dance attire, a unique kind of attire is also there, right. Festivals, folk festival, important festivals, this is also part of art and culture, right. Along with that, you can also add some other type of architecture. Along with temple architecture, there is different types of architecture like stupa is also there, along with caves, right. You need to focus on all these aspects when we are talking about contribution of any state, when we talk about art and architecture or culture. Fine, prepare such kind of notes. We are expecting such state wise question this year in this mains examination. Up till now such question is not asked. Okay. Now, there is one article on page number 10 regarding World Bank study. Name of the report is Glaciers of Himalayas, Climate Change, Black Carbon and Regional Resilience. So, this report is highlighting the impact of black carbon and how it aggravates the impact of climate change. Deposits, black carbon deposits produced by human activity accelerates pace of glacier and snow melt in Himalayan region. The research covered Himalaya, Karakoram and Hindu Kush mountain ranges. It says that glaciers are melting faster than global average ice mass. Okay, so this is important aspect. Glacier melt produces flash floods, landslips, soil erosion and glacial lake outburst flood. Now such kind of events we are witnessing more and more, especially in Uttarakhand state. Recently we observed such kind of avalanche, glacial lake outburst, avalanche also we observed, and because of that many people died. Right. So, this is going to be we can say frequently observed phenomenon. Ongoing policy measures to cut black carbon emissions are enhancing fuel efficiency standards for vehicles, phasing out diesel vehicles, promoting electric vehicles, accelerating use of LPG for cooking through clean cook stoves programs, as well as upgrading brick clean technologies. Right. So, basically these are the sources. Especially black carbon is formed by incomplete combustion of fossil fuels, wood and other fuels. Incomplete combustion, black carbon. Okay, so what happens is this black carbon is deposited on the glaciers, and these glaciers or snow, it has a very high level of albedo. Albedo is the reflective capacity of any surface on the earth surface, we can say. For example, snow is white or these glaciers are white, they are reflecting maximum amount of energy, radiations that is getting impacted or incoming radiation So they have high albedo, and such deposition of black carbon reduces this albedo, and the more and more radiation is being absorbed now. Okay, this is one impact, getting absorbed. Along with that, what happens when it is absorbed? It is also increasing the surrounding atmospheric temperature also. So it is having a very high level of global warming potential. It is the second largest contributor to warming the planet behind the carbon dioxide. So you need to remember this aspect also. Unlike other greenhouse gas emissions, black carbon is quickly washed out and can be eliminated from the atmosphere if emissions are stopped. And the local emissions of black carbon are having more impact. For example, if we are talking about the burning of fossil fuels in Delhi and northern plains, along with that the burning of crop residue in Punjab and Haryana region, ultimately it is reaching to the Himalayan region and getting deposited in Himalayas, especially as an impact of western disturbances, and those winds, surely they are depositing this black carbon on Himalayan Karakoram ranges, right. So this is how we have to understand for mains perspective as well as prelims perspective. Okay. Now some practice prelims MCQs we are solving on daily basis. Let me give you some time to solve this MCQ, then we will try to solve and find answer. Yes. So let us see which are these statements about SDG 2020 SDG index. We have to find the correct statements. So there has been improvement in the areas of industry, innovation and infrastructure. Basically this is incorrect statement. There is not improvement, there is decline in these sectors in this year's index. There has been decline in urban development health related indicators. There is no decline, rather there is improvement in these indicators. Just now we talked about this. So this is also incorrect. And Kerala has topped the index. Yes, Kerala with the score of 75, composite score of 75 has topped the this year index. Last year also Kerala was top on this index, right. So only statement correct is 3. So that's why answer should be C here. Now answer this question. Yes. So let us try to solve this. Which of the following art forms of Assam was not created by Shankar Deva? Such kind of question we are expecting in prelims examination. Yes, Borgit, yes, this is correct. Ankiya Bhavna, this is correct. Satriya, this is also correct. Bihu dance, no, this is not correct. Bihu dance is actually the folk dance of Assam. Though it is art form of Assam, but it is not created by, we can say, Shankar Deva. This is folk dance of Assam. It is associated with Bihu festival. Bihu festival of Assam. Right. So this is not, so that's why the answer is D here. Borgit, it is related to music. Then Ankiya Bhavna, just now we dealt in detail, this is theatre form. And Satriya is classical dance form from Assam. It is created and developed by Shankar Deva. Okay, so this is how we have to approach to these type of questions. Fine? Yes, these were important articles from today's The Hindu newspaper. Try to take input for both prelims as well as mains examination. Now Lukman IAS has come up with test series program for ethics paper, polity paper, overall general studies preparation, as well as essay paper and public administration optional subject. To know more about this test series program, you can contact Lukman IAS. Thank you.